Welcome to the SmartKeys podcast.
It's great to be here.
Today, we are staring down a paradox that I think is responsible for more executive insomnia than inflation or supply chain issues combined.
Oh, yeah.
It is this incredibly frustrating disconnect where companies are absolutely starving for specific skills data analysis, creative problem solving, agile project management, and they are spending a literal fortune trying to headhunt these people from the outside.
It's the buy reflex. We have a problem, we need a skill, so we go out and we buy a person.
Exactly. But here's the paradox. They often have people sitting right down the hall, or let's be real, sitting on a Zoom call 3 tabs away, who actually have those skills.
Well, it could learn them.
Or could learn them in a week. But nobody knows it. The company is starving while sitting inside a fully stocked pantry just because they lost the key to the door.
That is a terrifyingly accurate metaphor, and today I think we are talking about finding that key.
We are doing a deep dive into the concept of the internal talent marketplace, or ITM, and we are basing this discussion entirely on a comprehensive strategy paper by Felix Römer from SmartKeys.org titled Internal Talent Marketplaces: Boosting Mobility and Skill Utilization.
And before anyone tunes out thinking, great, another HR buzzword, let's be really clear about the stakes here. This isn't just about making HR's life easier.
No, not at all. Looking at Römer's research, this seems to be about fundamental business survival.
It is. I mean, think about the speed of the market right now. If a competitor launches a new feature, you have what, maybe weeks to respond? The old way of doing things.
The old way being posting a job rec, getting budget approval, waiting 3 weeks for resumes.
Doing 4 rounds of interviews, it's glacial. It's a 90-day solution to a 9-day problem.
So the mission for this deep dive is to see if we can shift the lens from job titles, which are static and, frankly, often outdated the moment they're written, to skills, which are fluid. Because if you can do that, Römer argues you can save massive amounts of money and, surprisingly, keep your best people from quitting.
Right. It's moving from a rigid hierarchy to a fluid ecosystem. It's using AI to let the work find the people rather than forcing people to hunt for the work.
Okay, let's get into the mechanics, because when I hear marketplace, my brain immediately goes to, like, eBay or maybe Upwork. Is that the right mental model we should be using? What's the definition here?
It's actually not that far off. Think of it as a digital platform that sits inside your company's firewall. On one side, you have the supply, your employees.
Okay.
They build profiles not just of what they do today, but what they can do and, crucially, what they want to do. On the other side, you have demand projects, gigs, full-time roles, and in the middle, you have an AI matching engine connecting them.
But here's where I think people get confused. Is this just an internal job board with a better search bar? Because most companies already have some portal where they list open jobs.
That's the critical distinction. An internal job board is for jobs. It's for permanent moves.
Yeah.
I am a junior analyst. I want to be a senior analyst.
Right.
An internal talent marketplace aggregates, well, everything. Yes, full-time roles are there, but so are short-term gigs. We need someone to build a dashboard for 2 weeks. Or mentorships. Or rotations.
So it creates a market for fractional work.
Exactly. And that is the game changer. Because in the old world, if I wanted to use a skill that wasn't in my job description, my only option was to quit and get a new job.
Right.
In this world, I can carve out, say, 10% of my time to work on a project for a completely different department.
That sounds great in theory, but let's talk about the data. HR data is notoriously bad. Most companies have a database full of resumes that haven't been updated since 2015. How does this system not just replicate that garbage data?
That brings us to the skills first shift and the technology behind it. Traditional systems rely on you manually typing in, I know Excel. The new generation of ITMs, they use AI to create what's called a skills graph.
A skills graph. Okay, break that down. What's a skills graph versus just a resume?
A resume is a static document. It's history. A skills graph is dynamic. It infers capabilities. So let's say you've been working as a project manager on a software migration. You didn't write stakeholder management or risk mitigation on your profile, but the AI looks at the work you did, the descriptions of the projects, maybe even the feedback you got, and it infers those skills.
So it knows what I can do better than I might even know myself.
Sometimes, yes. It connects the dots. It says, okay, if you know Python and you've worked on this type of financial modeling, you probably also understand these specific data visualization libraries. It surfaces hidden talent.
Talent that's currently invisible to the organization.
Completely invisible. And that inference piece is huge because it removes the friction of employees having to constantly update their profiles, which, let's be honest, they never do.
They never do. It keeps the inventory fresh automatically. Okay, so technically speaking, this sounds like an integration nightmare. Does this thing replace all the existing HR systems?
No, and Romer is very specific about this. It's an integration layer. It has to sit in the middle of your tech stack. It pulls data from your HCM, your human capital management system like Workday or SAP. It talks to your applicant tracking system, your ATS. And crucially, it talks to your learning and development, your L&D platform.
We'll touch on the learning part later because I think that's fascinating.
Yeah.
But I want to play devil's advocate on the why. We've established it's cool tech, but implementing this is a heavy lift. Culture change is hard. Why should a CFO sign the check for this?
The article provides a gold standard case study that answers that question perfectly. Unilever.
Right, their FLEX experiences program.
Yeah, and this wasn't just some pilot program. This was crisis management. Think back to the height of the COVID-19 pandemic. Consumer behavior shifted overnight.
Totally.
The demand for food service products, stuff they sold to restaurants, it went to zero. But the demand for hygiene products and packaged food just exploded.
So you have one division with thousands of people basically twiddling their thumbs, and another division that is drowning in work.
Exactly. In the old world, you would have laid off the restaurant people and panic-hired contractors for the hygiene division. Expensive, slow, terrible for morale.
Right.
Instead, Unilever used their marketplace to redeploy over 8,000 employees.
8,000 people. That is the size of a mid-sized corporation.
And in doing so, they unlocked about 300,000 hours of capacity. They didn't hire externally. They just pointed their existing army in a new direction.
That's such a tangible financial win. You're saving severance on one side and recruiting fees on the other.
Plus the speed. You're operational in days, not months. That is the definition of agility. Everyone says they want to be agile, but usually they just mean they have stand-up meetings. This is actual structural agility.
There's another angle Römer highlights, which is retention. We've been hearing about quiet quitting and the great resignation for years now. How does an internal marketplace fix that?
Well, you just have to look at the data in the source. 60% of employees say they want visible internal mobility, but nearly half say they would leave their current company if they didn't see a clear career path.
That makes total sense. If I feel stuck, I'm going to start looking for the exit.
But it's not just about getting a promotion. It's about variety. Maybe I'm bored with my day-to-day, but I'm not ready to leave the company. If I can pick up a gig working on a sustainability project, something I'm passionate about, that re-engages me, it makes the company sticky.
However.
Yeah.
And there is always a huge however when we talk about internal mobility. We have to address the elephant in the room.
The managers.
The managers. Talent hoarding. If I'm a manager and I have a superstar performer on my team, the last thing I want is for her to be distracted by a project in another department, or worse, to get poached by them.
Yeah, the article cites a Deloitte stat that 46% of managers resist internal mobility. And you get it, right? You have targets to hit. Why should I share my best resources?
I totally get it.
It's a rational fear, but it's a fatal one for the organization. Because here is the reality check for that manager. If you hoard that superstar and you block their growth, they aren't going to stay in your safe little box. They are going to quit.
So you lose them anyway.
You lose them and the company loses them. The marketplace tries to solve the psychology of hoarding by changing the equation from talent ownership to talent access.
How do you convince a manager of that, though?
Visibility and reciprocity. The article mentions Prudential as a good example. When managers realize that they can also use the marketplace to instantly fill gaps on their own teams, the anxiety just drops.
Oh, okay.
It's not just, I'm losing Sarah for 5 hours a week. It's, I'm losing Sarah for 5 hours, but hey, I can instantly tap into a pool of 50 people to help me with this data entry project I've been drowning in.
The columns, the refill anxiety.
Exactly. And frankly, companies also have to use incentives. You have to reward managers who are net exporters of talent rather than punishing them.
There's one more benefit in the business case section that I really want to drill into. Diversity, equity, and inclusion, or DEI. How does a piece of software reduce bias? Isn't there a risk it could amplify it?
In this case, it really democratizes opportunity. Think about how internal moves usually happen in a traditional company. It's the shoulder tap.
Right. I need someone for a project. I look around the room, or I ask my buddy who you recommend.
Who does he recommend? Usually someone who looks like him, thinks like him, or hangs out in the same social circles. It's the old boys network in action.
It's proximity bias.
Exactly. The marketplace strips all that away. The opportunity is posted for everyone to see. The AI matches based on skills, not on who you play golf with. It gives visibility to talent that might otherwise be totally overlooked because they sit in a different office or just don't have the network.
It levels the playing field.
It really does.
That is a powerful argument. So we know what it is. We know why it matters. Agility, retention, DEI. Now comes the part where the rubber meets the road. Implementation. The article outlines a 4PS framework: purpose, plan, program, platform. Let's walk through these because I suspect this is where most companies fail. They buy the software and just hope for the best.
Which is the classic mistake. You cannot buy a culture change.
So, step 1, purpose.
You have to define why you are doing this. And because it's cool is not a purpose. Are you trying to solve for rapid deployment, like Unilever? Or are you trying to solve for long-term career growth and retention?
Do those goals conflict with each other?
They can dictate different starting points. If you want rapid deployment, you focus on projects and gigs. If you want career growth, you focus more on mentorships and full-time roles. You have to set your KPIs from day one based on that purpose.
Okay, that makes sense. Step 2, plan. The recommendation here is to start with an MVP, a minimum viable product.
Do not, I repeat, do not try to roll this out to 50,000 employees globally on a Tuesday. It will crash and burn. The source recommends a 90-day pilot.
Why 90 days specifically?
It's kind of the sweet spot. It's long enough to see a project cycle start and finish so you get actual results. But it's short enough to keep momentum and excitement. If your pilot is 6 months long, people just lose interest.
And you pick a specific business area to start.
Yes. Pick a department that is high need, maybe IT or marketing, somewhere where project-based work is already a natural thing.
So,
Don't start in a department that's very rigid, like compliance, because the culture shock will be too high.
step 3, program. This sounds like the rules of the road.
This is the governance. This
Yeah.
is the boring stuff that actually makes it work. Who approves a move? Does my current boss have veto power?
That is the big question, isn't it? Does the boss have veto power?
If you give the boss total veto power, the marketplace dies because they'll just say no to everything to protect their turf.
Right.
But if you give them no say, you create chaos. So the best practice is usually a notification model or a negotiated model where the manager can say, not right now, but maybe in 2 weeks. You have to establish those rules up front.
And finally, step 4, platform. This is the tech itself.
Right, choosing the vendor. And since we're looking at this through the lens of Römer's article, he has some specific advice here for the U.S. market.
Oh, what's the specific U.S. context?
Speed and compliance. In the U.S., the advice is to focus on a really tight proof of concept. But you have to be incredibly careful with data privacy. You are dealing with employee data performance reviews, salaries, skills. Security standards have to be enterprise grade.
Yeah, he mentions executive champions.
Critical. In the U.S. corporate structure, you absolutely need air cover. You need a C-suite leader, a CHRO, a CIO who stands up and says, this is the future. Without that, you cannot smash through that clay layer of middle management resistance.
That makes perfect sense. You need that air cover from the top. Okay, so we've launched our pilot. We have our platform. How do we know if we are winning? What are the metrics that actually matter?
The article lists the whole dashboard of success. First, internal mobility rate. Are people actually moving? If that number is flat, your marketplace is a ghost town.
Right. Simple enough?
Second, time to staff. This is the speed metric. If it used to take you 60 days to fill a role, and now it takes 6, that is a massive ROI.
And redeployment hours. I like this one.
It measures productivity. It counts the actual hours of work that were moved from low priority areas to high priority areas. It's a direct measure of efficiency.
And finally, skills growth.
This is where we bridge that gap between learning and doing. This is one of my favorite parts of the ITM concept. Usually, corporate learning is, well, it's watching a video about Excel because you have to.
Compliance training. Yeah.
Right. But in the marketplace, the AI says, hey, you are a 90% match for this really cool project you want. You are just missing this one specific certification. Click here to take it, and then you can apply.
That is genius. It makes the learning immediately relevant. I'm not learning just in case. I'm learning just in time.
Exactly. It links development directly to the work. It solves the why am I learning this problem instantly.
So what does this all mean for the future? We've covered the mechanics, the strategy, the metrics. If we zoom out, where is this all going?
The conclusion here is that the internal talent marketplace isn't just a nice-to-have HR tool. It's becoming a productivity engine. It allows a company to predict shortages before they happen.
How so?
Well, if you see that 500 people are searching for AI prompt engineering courses and you have 0 projects open for that, you know you have a supply that is ready to be tapped.
Or, conversely, if you have 100 projects needing Python and nobody has that skill, you know you have a crisis coming.
Precisely. It turns HR data into strategic business intelligence. It's proactive rather than reactive.
It really feels like we are moving away from the idea of an employee being a static resource in a box on an org chart and moving toward an employee being a dynamic set of skills that flows to where they are needed most.
That is the perfect way to put it. And honestly, it's the only way companies are going to survive the pace of change we are seeing. If you are rigid, you break. If you are fluid, you adapt.
And for the listener who is thinking, well, my company will never do this, or I'm a manager, why should I bother? What is the final thought you'd leave them with?
Here is the reality check. If you don't offer a marketplace inside your company, your best employees will find one outside your company. The gig economy is already out there. People are used to flexibility. They're used to finding side hustles and projects on Upwork or Fiverr. They want that same agency in their day jobs. The gig economy is coming for your workforce unless you build it internally first.
This is a provocative thought to end on. It's adapt or lose your talent to the open market. Well, we have covered a lot of ground today. From the basics of what an ITM is, to the massive success of Unilever, to the 4 Ps of building it yourself. It really feels like the job as we know it is evolving into something much more interesting. I want to say a huge thank you to everyone for tuning in to the SmartKeys podcast. We know your time is valuable, and we hope this deep dive gave you some actionable ideas to take back to your teams. If you enjoyed this conversation, please subscribe to the podcast so you don't miss our next deep dive. And seriously, I strongly encourage you to read the full article by Felix Römer. We only scratched the surface. He has full diagrams, checklists for the 4 Ps, and detailed breakdowns of the tech stack. We've put the link right there in the show notes.
It is definitely worth the read if you were planning to pitch this to your leadership team.
Absolutely. Thanks for listening, and until next time, keep unlocking that potential.